Philadelphias. And don't forget, we had all this talk this year just to watch the Chiefs win another 3-peat. The Chiefs win another 3-peat. The Chiefs win another 3-peat. Welcome back. This is the House 1055 podcast. I'm your host, Noah Marano. This is my co-host, Joe.
I don't want to be here.
I don't want to be here either.
I don't want to do it.
We have a job to do, though. Somber atmosphere here in the room tonight. As you guessed it, the Chiefs and Eagles will be playing again in the Super Bowl.
Son of a gun, bro. Nobody wants this Super Bowl.
We should boycott it.
Nobody. Bro, there's been reports.
There's been reports of the streets talking.
Yes. We did just come off the most viewed Super Bowl of all time.
Yeah,
last
unfortunately.
year.
Yeah. And it only gets bigger every single year.
And, well, not necessarily. It goes up and down. But, yes, for the most part, it's always increasing. But there have been talks that we should boycott it, but I feel like this happens every year.
I think it's just happened since the Chiefs have been making the Super Bowl.
Dude, you jinxed it.
I didn't jinx it.
did.
I'm just a prophet.
Maybe.
I'm just a prophet.
Last week you said, we're gonna have this awesome season, record-breaking numbers, great football, great talent, great rookie class.
Doesn't fucking matter.
And it's just gonna be Kansas City and Philadelphia in the Super Bowl.
Doesn't matter, bro. We live in the darkest of days. This is the darkest timeline. That's why Joe and I are celebrating with a flask and dressed in black. And, this is going to be a somber episode, but we're going to try and get through it. We're not going to talk about the Super Bowl today. We are boycotting it today. We're going to talk about the games that happened.
I actually have a plan.
Do you?
I am boycotting the Super Bowl.
Oh, you are boycotting the Super Bowl. That's bold of you. I don't think I could do it.
So here's my plan.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to illegally... Whoa, hold on. Before I use the word illegally. Scratch that from the record. I am going to be a resourceful individual.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
And I'm going to be viewing the Super Bowl not as a person that they can add as a number that is viewing the Super Bowl. You picking up what I'm putting down?
I'm very much picking up what you're putting
down. So I'm
going
to be watching the Super Bowl, but not as a number that will be added to the number that is reported of how many people are watching. I'm going to be kind of piggybacking off somebody who is a number in the statistic.
Hey, so you know what that means? You're just not going to be using my YouTube TV.
Right on. Well, I mean, it's your account. It's only one view, right?
I don't know. They started doing that a while ago where, like, they're actually... At least they were doing it with Netflix, like where Netflix has family accounts, but they literally will count like how many streams they actually get from the individual account now.
Yeah, but it's multiple profiles within the account. I'm on your profile.
It doesn't matter. I think it matters more devices. They can track which devices it's coming from.
That's fine.
Yeah, more power to you. I appreciate your efforts. There's been one Super Bowl I've successfully boycotted, and that was the Steelers and Packers game. Years and years and years ago. Just didn't watch it. I had a great time. I had a great time not watching that game. That being said, these are two very good teams, and the storylines are way more interesting than that Super Bowl. So I probably will watch this. I will watch it angrily with closed and tight fists, but I will watch it. But listen.
I'm scared.
I'm scared too.
We'll stay away.
So we are going to be holding our Super Bowl talk till next week, so please come back to the house at our YouTube channel. Catch our TikToks. We'll be dropping some more this week for all of you still surviving on the app. We're alive for another 70 or so days, I think, as of right now. And then, hey, Instagram, go follow that. But we will be dropping our Super Bowl preview next week.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. This week, we are going to talk about the two games that did happen because they were games that happened. And let's talk about the first one. Let's not talk about the mean, nasty bullies on the block yet. Eagles Commanders. So lots of, honestly, biggest surprise of the weekend was how split I feel like the country actually was in this game. I think there was actually a very large amount of people who thought Washington was going to pull it off. And honestly, kind of looked like they could have. For a minute there, they were driving in at the end of the third quarter to potentially make it a 3-point game going into the fourth. And then, unfortunately, some chaos ensued thanks to Austin Eckler's fumble. I believe it was that one. And the Eagles never looked back from there on out. It was just a feast in the fourth quarter. So, yeah, I mean, like, what were your initial thoughts on this game? I know, like, we both were really pulling for the Commanders. It actually, like, seemed like a pretty good game for the most part. And the score, I don't feel like is indicative of how the game actually was. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think I don't put this loss on Jaden Daniels at all, because every time Jaden Daniels took the field, for the most part, at least we're talking about at least the first 3 quarters, because that's when it was like a game.
Yeah.
He put up points every single time he touched the ball. I saw a comment, and I mean, we watched the game, so we saw it. Jaden Daniels led a touchdown drive, made the game 12-14, right? They were down 2. Jaden Daniels didn't step back on the field. Literally, Jaden Daniels as an individual did not step back on the field until the score was 12-27.
Yeah.
Insane. You're hearing what I'm saying?
Insane.
He came back. He was down 2 when he got off the field.
Yeah.
He came back on the field.
Yeah.
And he was down 15.
He looked like for the most part.
What is he supposed to do?
He did as much as he could. He really did.
That's ridiculous.
The first quarter he came out, he looked like he was a little nervous. He threw some low balls that just weren't like accurate passes.
First drive.
He was still completing them, but like they were just like inaccurate. But then after that, man, like he lasered some through like triple coverage that every time we watched one, we both went, that was disgusting. So like, and he led drives. He led them all the way down the field. He converted fourth downs. They still couldn't stop them on fourth down. They stopped them on 1.
I just don't know how you could put that on him.
No.
When he's coming back, he literally cut the deficit to 2.
Yeah.
Okay, defense gives up a touchdown. That's what it is. But for him to come back down 15 is ridiculous.
It's
bro.
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
And what did we say before going into this game? Like Washington's key to winning was really like you had to jump ahead of them.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't do it. Eagles jumped ahead.
I mean, they could have.
They had opportunities to, but they had it. They just let him slip through their hands. And honestly, it wasn't Jaden's fault. It was a lot of the rest of his team. They were missing Darren Payne in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
That's their biggest run stopper. That probably definitely played some factors into them just gouging them down the run game, in the middle at least. Saquon's still going to do his stuff on the outside, but they couldn't really tackle Saquon at all. Like that first opening touchdown, I mean, they got like 4 bodies on him and couldn't bring him down. And then they also were missing an offensive guard. That probably
it was a tackle.
It was a tackle.
He's their best offensive lineman.
Yeah, so like that also is not going to help. Yeah, man. I mean, listen, it was 14-6 Eagles somewhere early in the first quarter. Washington had run 30 plays. Philly had run 7.
Yeah.
And we're winning by 8.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you supposed to do?
They had the 1-play touchdown.
Yeah, it's like, but like that was there are 2 things that I think made the biggest difference in the game. Obviously the turnovers, and B, the fact that like the Eagles just like were scoring at a much higher pace than what the Commanders could really do.
You see, yes, they were putting up points, and you give credit to Philadelphia, but it's like I want how the game actually went. I mean, they were getting the ball on the 20-yard line.
Yeah, and that's what killed them.
So it's like Philadelphia was starting their drives with 20 yards to go to the end zone. They started a lot of their drives in the first half in field goal range.
Yeah.
So no matter what, the absolute bare minimum when Jalen Hurts stepped on the field, they were getting 3 points.
And you just can't win that way.
You can't. You cannot win the game.
Every bad loss we've seen has come down to turnovers. Like it really has.
Yes.
Justin Herbert, 4 turnovers.
Jared Goff
last week, 5 turnovers. Washington this week, they essentially had 5. They had 4 technical, but they turned the ball over on downs on 1, so they essentially had 5 turnovers.
Well, they had to go for it.
And so that one was early in the game though. That was in
the fourth quarter.
The first fourth down they missed was early in the game, and that's what gave the Eagles a short field at first.
They only missed one. No, that was the fumble by what's his name, Brown. That was the one that gave him the first. That was the first turnover. The one you're talking about was a 4th down conversion, either late in the 3rd or early in the 4th.
Gotcha.
It was like 4th and 15, and I mean you were down. They were down like 20. I think at that point, and it was like they just had to go for it, and they didn't get it.
Yeah, for sure.
But no, the first 4 turnovers were all fumbles.
Yeah, and I don't want to take away from the Eagles because listen, their defense is disgusting. It really is. Like they've been getting moved down the field a lot, but because they're just always so aggressive and they're all so talented, it's just like they can allow themselves to get run down the field because at some point they just make a play that's going to be better than your offensive players can make the play. And they're just all athletic. They're all young. They're just flying around. And they look hungry. Like, they really do. Like, some of those passes that Jaden was throwing between the defenders, I mean, like, he had to laser that thing between arms and hands everywhere.
And he was.
And he was doing it, but, like, the Eagles made that gap so small, especially for, like, the receivers outside of that big Terry touchdown to get them, you know, within that, like, in that game in the beginning. They didn't really have like a lot of like space. I felt like between their receivers. Zach Ertz was doing his thing. He was getting open.
Zach Ertz was cooking him.
So I mean,
I think the biggest thing was, and this is something that the Commanders need to kind of reevaluate going next season. It's really because their run game was really not doing anything.
No, it wasn't.
Their run game was really stagnant. So it's like the only way they really could move the ball was passing. Yeah. But even then, like I say, if you wipe, and again, this is saying a lot, right? Wipe the turnovers, of course. It's a whole different game. But credit to the Eagles defense. They forced the turnovers.
I would say, like, how many of those do you think were like the Eagles forcing them versus like, because one of them, Eckler just kind of, that one Eckler fumble, did he get punched?
Yeah, dude punched hard.
Yeah, so I mean, like, listen,
they made plays.
They're just a talented defense.
I mean, the Brown fumble, Braun punched it out.
Mm-hmm.
The kick return, that was more the guy. He like ran straight into him and just like lost the ball. The guy didn't really punch it.
No, it's just a dumb play by the return.
Eckler, he has got punched out. It's just like, I mean, the Eagles, they just made plays and the Commanders just weren't holding on to the ball, and that ultimately, like, Daniels, I mean, don't feel bad at all, Daniels.
Yeah.
I will say, news just came out today. Super, super exciting. Cliff is staying.
Really?
Yep.
Good stuff.
He is staying in Washington.
He
has
huge.
opted not to take any interviews, and he's returning.
I think that's really good for them.
It's going to be really good.
Consistency-wise, that's really good.
Consistency is great for Jaden in an offense he knows, or has started, is picking up. Obviously, their offense was looking pretty freaking good, outside of the run game. So that's really big news for them. That's gonna make a big difference for free agency.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of see.
Before we get into Washington's offseason and what they might need to do, a couple more things I want to touch on with the Eagles is, like, listen, the Eagles were already a really good running team. Past couple years, they've been doing it with kind of like piecemeal. They did it with Miles Sanders 2 years ago. Did it with Swift last year. Mm-hmm. They've done it with Kenneth Gainwell in parts. And so, like, when you insert somebody like it's crazy, like, how when we really step back and we look at these 4 years, how insanely close the Niners and the Eagles like mirror each other. It's kind of the same thing. Like, they both had like an incredible run game, and all it took was really like picking up and dropping one of the best backs in the league into that run game instead of using the piecemeal players that you have, and it just immediately makes your offense nearly unstoppable.
And they both have like a top defense.
Yeah, both have a top defense. Both have a great like little Avenger core of skill players. Both have like kind of iffy quarterbacks that people like think have really high moments, but they both also have like really low moments. They're very similar teams. It's really, I think the only edge is like, well, they got Trent Williams. Like, I can't even say like, I mean, the offensive line is better for the Philadelphia
as a whole,
but like they also got Trent Williams. So like, and he's like,
Lane Johnson is up there.
I agree, but Trent Williams is probably the best tackler of all time. So like,
of all time, I mean, in the league for sure. I don't know.
The numbers kind of bear it out, but regardless, the Eagles, like, when you take a supercharged running game like that into it, and you introduce a player like Saquon, it's just crazy how much it expands their offense. Because the one thing everybody's been worried about them this year about is like really like what can Jalen Hurts do, and if he's limited, like, are you really gonna be able to win? But Saquon like helps open that up enough to where it takes a lot of pressure off Hurts. This game especially, I mean, like, they had to pack the box all the time, and it didn't matter. He still busted the big runs. Jalen also busted a big run on the outside.
Yeah, too. One got
called
back. He
also passed the ball really well. I thought that was like one of the biggest differences and biggest surprises of this game that pretty much guaranteed the Eagles winning. Is something I was worried about for the game, is that I just don't know if I trust Hurts to be able to, like, if he has to throw the ball, if he's going to throw the ball.
That 4th and 3 to AJ.
Oh my gosh, like it's a perfect throw. And it's like he looked a lot more in this game like the 2022 Jalen than I think anything we've seen literally all year. And I do want to talk about the comments he made after the game towards Nick Sirianni because I do think there's still some tension there. But I just want to give props to Jalen because, like, listen, they hardly. I saw there's a stat that's been going around for a while now. They like hardly win when he has like an incredible passing game.
Yeah, it's they're 0-8
Yeah.
when he's over 300 yards.
Yeah, and he didn't
and
bust
they're
300 this one,
No,
but
he was 240.
yeah,
He's like undefeated when he passes under 200.
yeah, and so like that's kind of been the trend with him as a quarterback. And that's why everybody's like unsure. Like if they get in a situation where they have to pass first,
Yeah.
are they going to be able to do it? But he showed this game. He showed this game that I think like I understand he didn't break the 300 yards, but like he can do it. He's still got something in him that can make those plays. Now Washington's defense isn't like the craziest in the world, so
Yeah.
I don't want to put it all on that because defense they're going to be going up against in 2 weeks is a different animal.
Yeah.
But dude, yeah, the Eagles, like, they're just a complete team. And I do think if the Lions were healthy and in this game, that would have been a better game. But I still can't sit here and say, like, the Eagles still wouldn't have made the Super Bowl. Like, they're definitely the most talented roster in the league. And I don't really think it's a debate.
No, you can debate Lions, fully healthy Lions.
I get it, but but defensive wise, even if the Lions are fully healthy, you still taking Eagles defense over the Lions?
Aiden Hutchinson.
I mean Jalen Carter.
Yeah. As a whole, I would say
that's what I
closer
mean.
than you think.
That's why I'm saying.
But then the Detroit's offense,
Yeah.
I think, blows.
But that's
out.
why I'm saying more talented roster because I'm saying like more talented roster to me means all the players across the board are a little higher versus like you. Obviously, they've got Aiden Hutchinson who one-on-one Jalen Carter. I'm taking Aiden Hutchinson. Even like some of their secondary players, the way they're playing. Brian Branch, I'd probably take him over both the safeties just because they're both young right now.
Kirby Joseph.
Yeah, he's
Anzalone or what's his name?
Anzalone. He's a great linebacker, but like Anzalone versus
they got dogs everywhere.
Who's the Eagles linebacker this year? That's gonna probably be up for defensive.
Dean? Oh
no,
Braun.
Is it Braun? Yeah. So like Anzalone, Braun. You got Cooper DeJean. You got Terry and Arnold. Like they're the same draft class. You know, you got Brian Branch and you got Quinyon Mitchell and Ed Reed in the back, and so it's like it's
Kirby Joseph. That's what I'm saying. It's a lot closer
even.
though.
The Lions, it's closer. I'm just still giving the edge because I think overall, like the Eagles do have like Nakobe Dean, and they do have a couple more guys on the line versus like the Lions really do just have like Aiden Hutchinson on the line, and they had Zadarius Smith, and he was playing well. But I'm just saying I think it's close, but like I'm saying overall talented wise, I'd probably give the edge to the Eagles. Offensive wise, that's close too because like who you taking, Goff versus Hurts?
Goff.
You're taking Goff. So we give Goff the edge. Offensive line.
Eagles, probably.
Lions also have a really damn good offensive line, but like I think the Eagles as a unit, they have 5 guys who are at a higher level than probably the 2 guys Ragnow and Sewell that they have on the Lions offensive line. And then I mean wide receivers wise, AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, Amon-Ra, Jason and Jamison Williams. Like I'm probably taking AJ Brown and Devontae just because I think Devontae's a higher 2 than I think Jamison Williams is. Would you take AJ Brown or Amon-Ra?
It's probably tied.
That's very close.
Tied.
That's about as close as it can get right there.
Tied.
That's probably the most even position on the field, I would say. But like you're probably taking as much as I love Gibbs, you're taking Saquon over Gibbs right now.
But Sonic and Knuckles.
The kind of
Saquon.
Like I said, I really wish the Lions would have gotten here. It would have been I think just a much better game. But they needed to be healthy, and they weren't healthy. So I don't know what's going to happen with them, too. We'll get into the offseason talk, whether we're going to see the Lions again, what that might mean. I'm sure we will, but they did just get brain drained pretty heavily. But, yeah, listen, Eagles, props to you guys. You guys did your job. You came in and dismantled a significantly less talented team, probably playing a little bit over their head this year, and you did your job, and you won by 30-something. So, like, congrats.
Yeah. As like, I want to... I don't know. I like Washington a lot, so it's like I want to be a hater.
Yeah.
And I definitely can, and I can make points on how Eagles could have lost this game.
Yeah.
But I do want to practice being like giving credit to where credit's due. And like, hey, Eagles won. I've said it all year. I actually I really like the Eagles.
Yeah.
It just so happened the Eagles are playing Washington, who I also really, really like. So it was like 2 teams I couldn't lose personally because I love both teams. So I'm obviously going to be super rooting for the Eagles come the Super Bowl. But so I'm happy for them. Commanders, their time is coming. That's why I'm more like, it's okay. Like, this is your first year with the unit. We'll see what we can do in the offseason. I think they'll be back in the playoffs in years to come. So it's like, pay your dues. Pay your dues now. The Eagles have kind of been paying their dues, making deep runs, getting bounced early. So this is their time to try and win it all. So it's all good in that. But credit to them. Defense is playing great. And I feel like the Super Bowl is going to be a defensive slug.
Yeah. I'm really glad you mentioned this one thing about how much you like the Eagles. And I would just like to explain, too, like, I want to root for the Eagles, but I have a really hard time doing it. Biggest reason is probably because they smacked the Vikings and stopped us from getting to a home Super Bowl. That being said, the biggest reason, and I'm looking at the camera when I talk about this one, I hate Eagles fans. They're the worst. So I don't know if you saw this video going around of the two Washington fans walking out the stadium.
Yeah, I did.
I mean, just scum. I get it if you want to talk trash. I'm okay with that. But, like, to get up in their face, and this is not the first time, when Minnesota lost to them in Philly, they were, like, literally throwing things at many fans walking out of the field. And they're just scum. I don't like them. None of them, they're the thing that hates me, like, that stops me from rooting for the Eagles on a more consistent basis, especially because I know a few, and they're just as obnoxious because they're the type of fans who won't be reasonable with you. When the season is going, like, through its ups and downs and they have, like, a down moment, there's never, like, a cause for concern. It's just like, no, we're the best team. We're going to figure it out. We're the best team. It's, like, not going to matter. It's like, well, what if Jalen Hurts, throws for, like, 100 yards in a playoff game? No, he's not going to do that. He's going to throw for 200. He's going to run. He's going to, I hate it. It's the most obnoxious thing. I just don't get it. Like, not that I don't get it. I don't get why they just treat people so nasty. I guess it's just a Philly thing.
That's the city, yeah.
It's just a silly thing.
It's
but
just the city.
Listen, they're
city of brotherly love.
Yeah,
by
brotherly
the way.
love. Come on. They're just the biggest a-holes ever. They talk about how they're going to win the bowl all year, no matter how their team looks. It just doesn't matter. Like, they're going to win the bowl. And another thing that really makes me angry at them is, like, when you view, like, them from a like a Twitter sense and a media sense, they're so love-hate. There's also the ones that are, like, really just, like, love-hate their team, where, like, the moment their team has a bad moment, fire everybody, trade him. Like, I hate, like, they're so picky about that stuff.
Yeah, that's the city, though.
I can't stand it. That's the only reason I don't want, like, I can't stand the fact that I have to watch this Super Bowl, because either way, America's losing. Either we have to hear about it from the Philly fans, or we have to watch the Chiefs win.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's just the bummer about it. But that's honestly, so I don't know where I lie yet on my loyalties for the Super Bowl.
I mean, I hear you, but it's like, and that's your way of viewing it. But, like, I don't
think you know a few either.
Well, I don't.
Do you know any personal Eagle fans who are, like, actually from Philadelphia?
I don't think so, but I know Atlanta Falcons fan, and I know a Minnesota Vikings fan.
Sure.
Each knowing about their team. Everybody can. I just disassociate, like, a fan base because I don't live in Philly. I don't care about the fans. I mean, sure, I do see stuff online. It's like, yeah, it's a little crappy. If it was me personally, I'd be throwing hands.
Dude,
I would, and that's just what it is.
That guy took the high road.
He did, and I get it, but it's like, I'm also a person that's like, that's very disrespectful, and that's fighting actions.
Yeah.
But I look at the roster. I mean, I like the players. And that's all I really kind of care about. I don't care about the fans. I mean, if they win, like, good for the city. I'm just happy that AJ Brown gets a ring. And it's like, oh, Devontae gets a ring. That'd be cool.
I don't care if AJ gets a ring.
It's like, oh, Ed Reed Blankenship gets a ring. It's like, I want to see those players win and be successful. So I don't really care about the fans. Again, that's how you view it. That's totally fine. I mean, if you root for Kansas City, though, I don't know if I can look at you.
No, I'm not going to root for Kansas City. I honestly wish the game would get canceled from, like, no, I'm not going to say that. We're probably not going to. We don't need to be saying things like that on the podcast.
But
that's for Dylan to say on the podcast, not us. All right, let's move on. Chiefs Bills. This was we did it.
Yeah.
We went to our local Bills joint. Really fun atmosphere.
That was good atmosphere.
It was good atmosphere when the plays
Bills
were
good.
happening.
Yeah, when the Bills were
when the plays weren't happening, it was a little bit like we're in a room full of older Bills fans who I'm sure are stressed watching this game. But when the plays like happened, like electricity through the room,
Yeah.
like incredible.
Every first down,
Every first down,
every 5-yard game,
it was awesome, bro.
was like energy.
Yeah, it was a lot.
It was
of
like
energy.
a jolt. Like
Yeah.
we were sitting towards the front of the TV,
Mhm.
so like everybody was behind us, and we're just watching. And like James Cook breaks off, gets tackled, and it's just like a 5-yard gain, and everyone's like, yeah,
losing their minds.
everybody's
bro.
like screaming. It's like, oh, this is awesome.
yeah,
Josh Allen throws like a 15-yard, reception, freaking out. Everybody's
Yeah.
like, run, go, and it's like you just get this jolt of energy, and
Yeah.
it was awesome. But then when Kansas City was making plays,
yeah.
it's
Silence.
F the refs, all this stuff. And then every time the Bills scored,
Mm.
a guy would come up to the front of the room
Yes.
and do a Bills chant.
Yeah, I have a video of it. Maybe we can insert some audio at some point.
So we did a Bills chant,
Yeah.
and I know the first time we did it, we kind of looked at each other like, I feel like we're cheating on our team. Yeah, it feels wrong, but at the same time, it's like I'm here for the experience
here.
and I'm here to have fun.
Yeah.
So it was awesome.
No, it was really fun. When it comes to the game, though, unfortunate that we're talking about the same scenario that we've been talking about for the past 4 years now. Listen, it's just kind of the same verse, second verse, same as the first. Like it's a really lot of the same stuff. The Bills played really well. Josh Allen played really well, but ultimately, like it just came down to they just didn't make as many plays. Like that's how I felt, and then it just turned into the same stuff where like Mahomes gets the ball at the end of the game, and we were looking at it. I was looking at you at the end of the game when they were driving in, like when they were driving in and got stopped on that fourth down. We were talking about it like they score here, like this might be enough, because at that point they would have been up, because I think they were up 2 at that point. They were up 1 at that point.
Which part?
It was like 22-21 or 22-20. I think it's 22-20. So they're up 2 at that point. So they score a touchdown right there. They're up 9.
Yeah.
With like 6 minutes left. And
you're talking
probably
about when you got-
bring it all the way back down to 4 or 3 minutes if the Bills are smart about it with the way they run. And at that point we were both kind of like, they got to do this. But we were like stressed. And then, they don't get it, obviously. And I think you looked at me with like some hope because there was like 6 minutes left. You were like, we're going to be fine. We're going to be fine. And I just kind of was like, I don't know, man.
Which then the Chiefs storm into red zone.
It went right down the field.
And then get stonewalled.
Yeah.
Forced them to take 3.
Yeah.
So now it was a 3-point game.
Yeah.
And Josh Allen got the ball with like 4:20 left on the clock.
Yeah.
I mean,
I felt good.
game was in his hands.
I felt good. I felt better about that because like every match we've seen with them, it always comes down to Mahomes has the ball in his hands.
Yeah.
And it's like Josh literally cannot do anything.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, it's a bummer that it still ended the same way. Because I mean, so you kind of scoffed when I said like I just feel like the Bills played well, but like they just didn't ultimately make enough plays to win the game, and the Chiefs did. Do you like disagree with that? I know we'll get into some of the ref stuff, but do you disagree with that?
A little bit. I think the Bills played okay. I think they played solid. But there's a few things that they didn't do well that I just don't think I'm going to say that they played the best they could. One, for a lot of the game, I'm going to say the first half for sure, maybe a little bit in the third quarter, Josh Allen just didn't look like Josh Allen. He was throwing some questionable balls.
It was the first like 2 drives.
It was the first half. Dude. He was throwing them
I don't know.
high.
They were. I think they were fine by the end of the half.
Yeah,
they went into the half. What were they? They were down like by a pointer. What was the halftime score?
They were down, but like Josh Allen was throwing balls high over the middle. He was like missing his guys, and none of them turned into turnovers. That's why we're not saying it's a big deal, because you don't remember them because they were just incompletions. We just brush off and go to the next play.
Yeah.
But like he didn't look like himself. And then play calling was a little questionable in the second half. I know there was
I think
one.
for sure the fourth quarter was really bad.
No, did you remember the third quarter when it was second and goal or third and
sure,
goal? But third and goal, and they threw the fade route to the end zone.
Yeah, no, that one was. I don't think that was.
That was in the third quarter, at the end of the third.
Because they stormed back in the third quarter and like took the lead in the third quarter. That's like because they scored 6 in the third. The Chiefs scored nothing. And they only scored 7 in the fourth in the Bill. And so it might have been that, but like I don't remember what happened at the end of that drive because they did throw the fade and they missed it.
And
did they go for it on fourth down?
And they got it.
Okay.
Because that was one where who was in the back of the end zone?
Is that the Curtis Samuel touchdown?
Yes, Curtis Samuel.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that was where they took the lead 22-20.
Yes.
That was also
they
electric.
threw the fade route
Yeah.
on third down.
I
And we're
agree,
like,
yeah.
that is an awful call. And then fourth down, Josh Allen,
Yeah.
makes a little magic. Throws a dart in the back of the end zone, and
Yeah.
Curtis Samuel gets a touchdown.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh, okay, they got it. But like, why are we getting on fourth down? Like, we had to make a play. Like, why are we?
Yeah.
I felt like every refresh of the downs, we went down to the fourth down.
Yeah.
And it was like to make the play. And it's like so stressful.
I agree. I think
so. They got the touchdown.
I think that's what changed from like the third quarter to the fourth quarter. Is like the third quarter they would make a play somewhere like that on the drive, but then they would always recover and kind of pull off the first down some way. The fourth quarter, like they weren't pulling off fourth. They weren't pulling off the
they
downs.
went for the
they
QB
needed to.
sneak probably like 5 or 6 times throughout the whole game.
Dude, Tony Romo called at the beginning of the game. The Chiefs knew it was coming over the left guard.
Yeah.
And they continued
Every time.
to try and push it over the left guard.
And it never worked.
Like, not one single damn person on that sideline was like, hey, should we try something else just to see?
And they did. They threw the James Cook flat and it went for freaking 15, 20 yards.
Yes. It's like they had James. James was doing great
cooking, bro.
in the third quarter.
He was cooking them.
He
By
was
himself.
a big reason they were just driving down the field on
By
them.
himself, bro. He was cooking.
So it's just annoying because I agree. The play calling, I think, just put them in bad situations.
It did. And obviously the most controversial thing, right, is did Josh Allen get the first down? And there's 2 things I want to talk about that. There's 2 things. First thing, the play right before I think is important. You don't get this context on social media.
Yes.
Or some were like talking about it, but it needs to be stated. Right before that, they called an RPO where Josh Allen threw it to Dalton Kincaid. Dalton got through and kind of dove for the first, and he got it. He crossed the first down. Ref comes in and spots the ball half a yard or a yard behind the first down.
It's bad.
It's a bad spot.
I remember in the moment, too, we both looked at each other and we were like,
dude, that was a first.
We were like, how are they not? Why are they marking that so short?
Dude, a whole yard short. So then that was third down. So that puts them on fourth down, fourth and 1, fourth and inches, whatnot. And they try the sneak. That's the controversial where everybody says, like, now here's the problem with that. 1, bad spot by the ref.
Yeah.
That, again, changes everything.
Yeah.
2, when Josh Allen got stopped, 2 line judges, the far side and the close side, both had different spots for the ball.
Yeah.
I can't remember which one exactly. One called it a first down. The other called it short.
The far side of the field one called it the first down, and the near side called it short, which is why they went with the near side.
The problem is that obviously it got challenged.
Yeah.
The problem is whatever got called on the field was essentially going to be what was going to happen because, again, in order for a challenge to work and the call be overturned, you need like overwhelming evidence.
You need conclusive and definitive evidence
and
to overturn the call.
With the pile up, you just weren't going to get that.
No.
Like, I know social media, everybody's like posting the picture and they're drawing the line of the first down and they're like, but like the refs aren't going to do that.
100%.
So it's what they can see in the video and it's either, but I believe they called a first and Kansas City challenged it.
No,
that was not getting overturned.
Getting reversed.
So it's like the call on the field again was the pivotal decision, and for them to mark it short, I mean, listen, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say the refs are the reason the Bills lost. I think they played a factor, and we can if I don't know if you plan on going back and forth on some things.
No, I want to stick on this one.
But it's just like, I don't know, man. I heard this is what Dylan said this night, the night we were watching the game, and I think what he said was 1,000% the case for most Kansas City games.
Yeah,
we're watching the game, and the stats come. You know the graphics, like a stat comes up. Kansas City was called for 4 penalties for X amount of yards, and the Bills were called for like 3 penalties for X amount of yards. So Kansas City was penalized more at this point in the game. And you look at that and you go, oh, okay, so like the refs really like aren't helping Kansas City. But as soon as that stat came up, Dylan goes, I hate this stat because it's showing you, making you think that the refs aren't helping Kansas City. But it's not how many penalties are called. It's the timing in which the penalties are called that are indirectly impacting the flow and how the game is going.
Yeah, 100%.
The Xavier Worthy catch.
Yeah.
Okay, you can make a case he caught it. You can make a case he didn't catch it.
I don't agree, but you can, yes.
I personally think it probably wasn't a catch. But, again, you can make a case either way.
Yeah.
The Josh Allen, the first down, again, you can make a case that he made it. You can make a case he didn't. It's just like the Kansas City penalties were like, encroaching or like random little flags are like, it didn't gain 5 yards, but it was already first down or something like that where it's like not super impactful.
Waiting super long to call something, to let the play play out. And then you give the team the choice to make the decision or
That was a big one. That happened that gave Kansas City a big play where it was illegal formation.
Yeah.
You and Dylan were getting super mad about it.
Yeah.
It was an illegal formation that the ref saw. Josh Allen hiked it, threw the ball, incomplete. Then the refs threw the flag.
Yeah.
And then they called the illegal formation that allowed Kansas City to then either accept or decline based off the results of the play.
And I don't like that.
So because Kansas City saw, it was an incomplete, we're going to decline it, give them second down. Instead of, if they just blew it dead, they accept it. At least it's first down and first and 15.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
I had a conversation with Dylan about the illegal motion stuff a few weeks ago when watching football. This entire year they've been calling that play late. And I don't know what meeting they had at the beginning of the year that they pointed that out and said, hey, like, we're going to call it this way this year. It's awful. I've watched football for a good amount of time now. I have never seen them been called this late, ever. And it seems like every week there's one that I see where it's like they waited like 4 extra seconds to call that when they shouldn't have. Like you said, they wait for the play to result out.
Yeah.
And when it comes to third down thing, I completely agree. It's like you're putting what has to be conclusively and definitively overturned in the hands of an imperfect guess by a ref who's standing near 25 yards away. Mm-hmm. And I get it. People are going to complain. That's how football's always been played. I get it. But we've improved football with so much cool things that we invented. They have a chip in the ball. There's already a chip in the ball that tracks stats and stuff. Just help it track where the damn ball is with the line of scrimmage. And I was trying to look up like why they don't do this already. Apparently, like, they haven't figured out like when it's in a huddle, like getting the right imaging. Dude, we've got like CAT scans that detail every freaking organ in our body down to the millimeter. You're telling me we can't figure out where a ball is in a scrum based off like a picture and a chip? I refuse to believe that. And the NFL is one of the biggest, most rich industries in the entire world. They are doing so much scientifically to improve the game when it comes to equipment, when it comes to, mobility training, when it comes to training on other things. Like, there's so advanced things going into this game. I refuse to believe that we can't take the next step and say for specifically plays like this, where a runner is clearly not down and you can clearly see that he's close to the line of scrimmage or the first down marker or the end zone. In those moments, we have to have technology that dictate what needs to be conclusively and definitively overturned. Not the eyes of some 60-year-old ref who's maybe been doing this for who knows how long. That's where I have an issue with it. And that's where I feel like it's come time for things to change.
Yeah.
And I get the purists who don't want to listen to that crap, but that's just where. And also, it's just funny when Gene Steratore is coming on literally every other penalty and saying, I don't believe in that. I don't agree with that one, man. It's like, why even have Gene come on?
Yeah.
He can't do anything.
Every single call against the Bills, he's like,
he's making you look bad.
He's like, I don't like that
I
call.
mean, it was like he does it a lot, but I mean, every damn play he came on for.
He was like,
I don't agree with that one.
Me personally, I wouldn't have called that.
I just don't get it. Tony Romo also had the biggest announcer jinx I think I've ever seen. That was one of the worst ones I've ever seen. Calls out the cornerback for being in, just out of concussion protocol. Next play gets hit.
Yeah.
And gets hit in the head.
Yeah.
And you can see he's done.
He's out for the game.
He's done. And people are trying to tell him you're done. Just I've never seen such an announcer jinx. I've seen some crazy ones on kicks before. That was a different beast.
Dude,
I couldn't believe that.
Romo was
You guys didn't like
His
Romo.
mouth
I
was
like Romo.
stuffed with Kansas City's
Oh,
penis,
for
bro.
sure, for sure. He's gonna be like that just because like they're who they are. But I will say the way he can call out things and the way he can show you and give like casual viewers more depth on the game, I think he does that better than a lot of other announcers. So that's why I really like him. But I agree. There were even moments in this game too where I was like, Tony, shut up.
You said him. I think you said him.
I said it more than you guys, and I
Yeah.
was defending him before the game.
Yeah, you were like, Romo, Tony,
Dude,
shut
like it was just like the most annoying things, bro. That he would just come on and just like
out
out of nowhere too.
Yeah, it'd be, oh, you saw that hard count by Mahomes. He's just one of the best in the leagues at hiking the ball.
Ridiculous,
It's
bro.
like, dude, give me a break.
Ridiculous.
But I don't know. It's like you see technology like in tennis,
Yeah.
with the eagle eye.
Oh my god, bro!
Where
If
it's
we can
like-
do that with what? How fast does a tennis ball typically move?
Dude, they go like, I mean, if you're talking on a serve, they go like 130, 150 miles per hour. And they'll like, and they will tell you by like, dude, I'm talking about a milli inch.
It's insane.
How they can tell if
I
it's
don't
in or
even
out.
comprehend how that works like that.
Dude, it's insane.
And you're telling me we can't do that with a football?
And so I get like, okay, for like a scrum, like
Sure.
a big pile, okay, maybe it's not super conclusive, and maybe, okay, we got to default that to the refs.
Yeah.
But like if a guy's like running, there's one guy that has an angle, he hits him, and he like, the offensive player like dives and
Mhm.
extends it, where there's not a big huddle, and it's
Yeah.
just those two guys, and he's extending the ball. We can't like,
We can't just. Can
have
I not get
something that, like-
get the replay assist that we've been getting all season on all these different types of calls? Nobody can call in real quick and see that that's
It's I don't know, man. I go
Changes are
back
coming.
and forth.
changes are coming.
I go. It's
The noise is too loud for the NFL to ignore it now. Like because
maybe.
they don't just have fans doing it now. There's like national media members like getting upset about it at this point.
Yeah.
And at that point, like that's when they're probably going to take a look at the rules and see what they can do. They're not going to change a lot.
That's what
guarantee
I'm
you
wondering
they're
though.
not,
It's like, but if Kansas City and the Super Bowl is their agenda, why would they change anything?
oh, I agree.
So it's like, if nothing's being changed,
If that's what if you're a big believer on the
Well,
Kansas
no,
City
I'm
agenda
not-
like that, no, I can see why
I'm
you don't
not-
believe that.
Yeah, I'm not saying I am. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if the NFL is wanting to push Philadelphia
Yeah.
and Kansas City, then this is all a result of their doing, not them trying to create a
Yeah.
fair and balanced league. I don't know. I'm not sitting here gonna be a conspiracy guy. It sucks because like not Allen, but everybody cried when Mahomes beat Allen the first time, like in overtime.
Mhm.
So they made the rule, the
Yeah,
overtime
and
rule.
now they're gonna make another rule.
And then they were like, "Oh, Josh Allen, you changed overtime rules. You can't cry about this loss." And then they lose in the fashion they do, and it's like then they cry, and then it's like, "Oh, we win this way, we win that way," and like you still cry.
The Bills are like especially the players, that team. They're probably they're probably the single group on the planet that's not complaining about the law, like the penalties.
Yeah.
Because they know they just didn't do enough.
They didn't do enough, and so it's like, I don't know. I've talked to a few people, and I think this is my stance on the game. The refs impacted the game,
Mm-hmm.
mostly in the favor of Kansas City.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the Bills just didn't get it done.
Yeah.
So I think it's like 60-40.
Yeah.
40 refs, 60 Bills. Like the Bills just didn't convert. Like
You think it's 60-40 refs?
maybe. I mean, here, how about we put it this way? Probably 20% refs. Let's just say 40% Kansas City just being good,
Yeah.
and the rest, the Bills just not doing enough, right?
Yeah.
I think the refs impacted the game. I think they with that worthy call basically gave him a touchdown.
I don't know. Yeah. That one, I don't know.
The Josh Allen fourth down conversion, you basically gave the ball to the Chiefs on the 50-yard line or 40-yard line.
Yeah, it was somewhere in.
And so it's like I think they impacted the game. That being said, at the end of the last drive, Josh Allen had 4 minutes left. He was down 3. He didn't get it done.
Yeah, and they could,
And that play
Yeah.
that last play with the corner blitz, like you can't complain
dude.
about anything.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because the biggest thing I'm surprised nobody's talking about. A lot of people were talking about Dalton Kincaid, and I was like, listen, Dalton Kincaid made the best play on the ball he possibly could.
Oh, he tried.
That's a tough ball.
It was
to catch.
catchable, but
Catchable, but that's a really tough catch. My biggest thing, and I said this while I was like watching the play, And then Dylan brought it up in our group chat was the Khalil Shakir thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he sent us that video of somebody breaking it down, how you're bringing Shakir, who's like this great, gadget guy on the
Yak.
field.
Best yak receiver.
He's one of the best yak receivers in the league. You're bringing him away from the line of scrimmage. But, like, if you actually watch the whole play, and I zoomed out and got a picture of it, like, he is, I mean, all it takes is for Allen to just turn a little bit and glance over at him. I'm sure Allen can make the throw. It's still going to be a tough throw. But listen, if you can make the one to Kincaid off his back foot falling away from two defenders, I'm sure he can twist his body enough to get this over to Shakir. If he sees him and gets that ball, which I feel like the play was designed for that because he ran the motion and everything. We've seen that play a lot, too. I just saw a video literally last week. It was the Eagles and how in Chiefs, the last Super Bowl they played, and how the Chiefs ran that play 2 times. And the Eagles ran it in the playoffs this year, where they get that little motion going, and it goes out to the right, and it's just wide open in the flat. And I think he had a play on it for Shakir. I think that probably he could have gotten 20, 30-plus yards on that play.
I mean, we don't know who's back there.
We don't. Well, that's the thing. So, like, the closest defender, if you watch the play plays out, is this guy right here. I don't know who that is right now with the screenshot I have.
There's nobody back
there. I think it's there's nobody over here. He starts to come down, but, like, even still, he's getting to the first down marker.
For sure.
There's no way you can convince me he's not getting out of the first down.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I think
that's just tough.
It's
It's
tough.
tough.
I agree. Obviously, we're not on the Buffalo Bills, and we don't know what his read progression was.
For sure. I don't. And yeah, it honestly looked like
he was looking right.
He didn't even try to look that way.
No, and so we don't know what the play was in his read progression. But also, it's like the way the blitz happened was the corner went in between the tackle and the edge.
Yeah.
So it's like Allen hiked the ball. The guy disappeared from his line of sight, automatically just sprinting at him unblocked.
Yeah.
And he just panicked.
Allen said after the game he didn't see him. He came out in the post presser and said it's my fault. I just didn't see him.
Yeah.
I didn't see the coverage.
Sprinting at him.
And one of their interior linemen also just completely busted the coverage on that play. Let the guy I don't think it was Chris Jones. I think it was the guy next to Chris Jones. Just go right by him. And so you had the corner and the other guy coming in. It's impossible.
So
but
I mean,
leads us back to where we are.
Then again, you're getting to what was 4th and 6.
Yeah.
Why you got to make plays before that.
I agree
as well.
And their play calling was atrocious. They just
was bad.
They tried to throw their head against a wall several times in a row instead of getting creative, which got them points on the board earlier in the game.
Yeah, and so I don't know if James Cook was hurt, but he wasn't even on the field.
On the field.
So he's
an okay blocker too.
Again, the refs impacted the game. The Bills absolutely lost that game for themselves.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Completely agree with you. I think we were saying the same thing about Texans game, and now we're saying about the Bills. I think it's just the Chiefs thing. I think they just execute better in a lot of situations. They get help from the refs, but they just execute better. But listen, real quick statement on what you think the Washington Commanders and the Bills should do this offseason. What's the biggest thing? If you had one thing to tell them, what they should go do to fix their team right now, what would you tell both teams?
I think for Washington, it's more you have a lot of free agents because you signed a lot of these guys, a lot of these defensive guys to 1-year deals. So you need to go and figure out, who you need to bring back, get them under solid contracts. And then I think the biggest priority is maybe sign one offensive lineman at least in the free agency. Try and get yourself a running back. Mm-hmm. I don't think this Brian Robinson-Eckler duo is...
Unfortunately, I don't think
it's
so.
It's a very, very discounted version of Sonic and Knuckles. I mean, it's the lowest tier of them.
Old man Sonic and not good vision Knuckles.
Yeah, so you need to go get yourself a running back, and then you just go get some defensive pieces. I mean, and build the draft.
Yeah.
But they have a good infrastructure.
Yeah.
Just go add to it. Just get better. Get 5% better. This year, because you got a guy. You got a guy in the backfield. Bills, man, I really don't know. You have a good roster.
I've got something written down that's pretty similar.
You have a good roster. You've got one of the best quarterbacks in the league. You got a great running back, solid O-line. Maybe you can beef it up a little bit. Good defense. I mean, I really don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, how about just play better in the playoffs?
Yeah.
I don't really know.
For Washington, I would simply say progression is not linear. That's the biggest thing we've seen lately in the NFL. Just because you had a good year and you look on the rise doesn't mean next year couldn't.
Yeah.
So I think don't stay stale. Don't stay stagnant with your moves. Like be aggressive. Because if there's one thing that we've learned over the past decade of football is that when you have a excellent quarterback
You've
on
got
a
a
rookie
window.
contract,
You've got a window.
you've got about the most perfect window you can possibly have in this league.
Yeah.
So these next 5 years,
And they've got money.
they got to be aggressive. They got to draft well, and they got to be aggressive. They got to sign back the players that they need to sign back. Like there's some, they've got good players on their roster that they need to keep developing and sign back. So that's the biggest thing for Washington. I feel like Bills, like you said, keep on keeping on. I guess. Listen, my only thing for the Bills is like, listen, this sucks. You do need to probably add another like offensive weapon on the outside that maybe he's going to do a little more than your receivers can do. Whether that's
Mac
Keon,
was doing it, bro.
Whether
Mac was doing it, bro.
Mac Hollins was doing it. Whether that's like Keon develops more. I don't know if Hollins is going to be around next year. I don't know if Cooper's going to be around next year. If that's Shakir, great. But that I think their defense just needs another year to grow. I think their defense actually is sneaky pretty okay. And talented.
Maybe go get yourself another corner.
I think if I'm the Bills, it's literally just like, hey, they can't win every year, right? It's like, let's just get to the playoffs. Let's try and play our best football. We've got a good roster. We've got one of the best 3 quarterbacks in the league. Like, I don't know. Just keep punching the wall. They can't win every year. That's my only advice. Like, they legitimately can't. They're not going to. There's going to be a dip somewhere in this process.
Yeah.
The problem is you have the Ravens to compete with on that side of things as well, but, like, there's going to be a dip, and you have to be opportunistic when that dip comes. All right. We spent a long time on that. So I do want to get to this next part that I'm very excited for.
Okay.
We are going to – I've seen a lot of things going around lately about how, Lamar is just entering his Peyton Manning phase. Like, he's the new Peyton Manning. He gets all these awards, gets the accolades. He might be winning his 3rd MVP. Still hasn't won a big one. Still hasn't beat his contemporary. We saw a lot with Josh Allen, too, when he lost to Mahomes. When now he's, also similar. Like, he's the Peyton Manning. He's just getting stopped by can't win anything. So I've seen like originally I wanted to do a kind of like let's see like what quarterbacks of our era are the same for the past era of football with Brady and Breeze and all of them. But I was thinking to myself, that's a little cliche. It's probably a little bit overdone. So I'd like to do what I think is a more accurate comparison. And it's going to sound weird saying accurate because it's across sports.
Yeah.
But listen, the Chiefs have an absolute chokehold on this league right now. And the only thing that it reminds me of is how much of an absolute chokehold Michael Jordan had over the NBA for his little 8-year period that technically 6-year period that he was really just the king. And so if Mahomes is our Jordan and the Chiefs are our Bulls, I want to go through and match up what we think these teams are to the contemporaries that Michael beat. So I'm going to give you the teams that I got that Michael beat that we're going to kind of compare and match to. So in the East, he had the New York Knicks. They were there every year. He had the Magic the 1 year. He had the Pacers the last year. And then he actually played the 76ers in the playoffs like a few times in a row in his first three-peat. So they're there. We don't have to match someone up to them, but I thought, they could be somebody in the East. In the West, he matched up against the Jazz in the finals twice, the Suns, the Supersonics, the Trailblazers. The only 2 teams that I left off this list that Michael did beat, one of them being in the finals, was the Pistons and the Lakers. I'm just kind of putting them to the side because they also, like, Magic won. Magic was very old, and he won. There's not really a one-to-one comparison because Brady beat Mahomes in his last 2 years. So I would say, like, Brady's the Pistons. He's the one that kept Mahomes from getting there.
Say.
Brady
is the bad boys.
And Brady didn't lose to Mahomes, but
yeah,
he kept him from
getting a ring.
And he's ultimately the one that passed the torch to Mahomes, like, once he was done. So I want to get started with this. So the ones that Mahomes have beaten so far, I added, obviously, the 3 big ones in the AFC, the Bills, the Ravens, and the Bengals. I added 3 other teams in the AFC that he's beaten throughout the playoffs, whether they were having a fantastic year or whether they're new to the game. He actually beat the Andrew Luck-led Colts his first year on the road to beating the 49ers in the Super Bowl, and that next year, Luck retired. Not saying that's directly why, but, like, that was the last time we saw a good Colts team.
Yeah.
The Titans were the 1 seed. Didn't get it done. That's all I have to say. And then we have the Texans. They're like kind of on the come up. They've only played the Chiefs once in the playoffs, but they were there last year. They didn't get a chance to. And then in the NFC, obviously, Mahomes has beaten literally just 2 teams. He's beaten the 49ers. He's beaten the Eagles, and potentially we'll see if he beats the Eagles again. So let's go down this.
Okay.
I want to give you my pick because I want to start with this one because I think this is the biggest 1-to-1 that I have is the Orlando Magic.
Okay.
I believe are the Cincinnati Bengals. And here's my take on this. They're the young and hot start team with 2 excellent players really early in their career. Kind of just came on the scene. Fireworks. They beat their contemporary to make it to the championship, but then they lost in the championship. Magic did beat Michael Jordan. I understand he came back on that short season, but they did beat Michael Jordan and got to the finals. It's I'm not we're not going to have that conversation right now. But that's the only reason, it's like Burrow beat Mahomes. He's the only one to. And the Magic were the only one to beat them in that stretch. Bengals had no offensive line. Magic had no heart when it came to the finals. Talking about specifically the championship round. They just lost their heart. And the Bengals, if they just had probably one more offensive lineman, they might win that game. And then biggest thing is they lost to a veteran with an excellent star and supporting cast in the finals. They lost to the Rams with Stafford and McVay and Kupp. And obviously the Magic lost to Houston and Elijah Wan and Clyde Drexler and a bunch of old heads. And then they lost in the rematch the following year to that contemporary. So that's my case for why the Magic are the Bengals. Also, they made it that one year. Magic never made it back again. We don't know what the Bengals are going to do. They made it back the next year, but then after that, it's been kind of a struggle bus to see if they get back. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I'd agree only because and again, I won't get into it, but the technicality, yes, the Magic beat the Bulls, lost, made it back to the playoffs, and then the Bulls curb stomped them.
Yeah.
And which is what happened to Bengals.
The Chiefs didn't curb stomp,
but they beat them.
They beat them though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that is a 1-to-1 right there.
Yeah.
So I think just that right there makes sense. Yeah.
Cool. So we're in agreement on that one. All right. Do you want to bring up one now? You can pick any team.
I
would say pick Jordan's contemporary, and we'll talk about who the NFC one is.
Yeah. I would say
AFC one doesn't really matter.
Man, I don't know if this team is one of these 2 guys, and I'm trying to think. All right, I'll say that the New York Knicks are as Baltimore.
Interesting.
I'm torn on whether either
I had Baltimore as a maybe for this team, and I ultimately chose to go with I chose to go with the Bills.
See, I put the Bills as the Pacers because.
So explain that one.
Because Reggie Miller and Michael Jordan.
So I did put that also there because they really were the closest ones to beating them.
Yeah.
Really beating them. I know Burrow did it, but really beating
the Pacers had it.
So I'm okay with that. The only reason the Pacers kind of fall apart with the Bills for me is the Bills have faced them multiple times now, where the Pacers only had that one series against them.
Yeah.
But I actually don't hate that.
But the Knicks played them every time.
Yeah.
But
and I agree. That's why I put maybe Baltimore. Can I tell you where else I have Baltimore and see if you like this one? I know it's kind of crossing a little bit. I have them as the Utah Jazz.
Oh, you have them in the West
because you have the 2-time MVP that keeps winning MVPs over their contemporary, who's obviously better than them.
Yeah,
and they just can't get it done. And they the problem with that one is the Ravens only played them once.
Yeah.
And, the Bills have played them multiple times. So that was the only other spot I really had the Ravens, though. They were either the Knicks or the Jazz for me. So I'm okay with either pick. I do like the Knicks pick, too, because, they can't beat them.
Yeah, I would. I'd probably the Knicks. Well, just stay in the conference.
Yeah.
I think
if you want to stay in the conference, that's fine.
Yeah,
we can totally do that. That's
because I wasn't thinking of Western teams for them.
Yeah.
I was thinking of interconference. So
that's fine.
That's fine.
And that was the only one I really entertained, mixing across borders, just because of the MVP thing. Because Jordan was pissed that Malone was winning those MVPs. I'm sure Mahomes doesn't take it lightly that he's not even getting mentioned.
Yeah.
So,
for sure.
All right, this is where it's gonna get a little tricky because
also Pacers or Bills.
Pacers are Bills.
Just because of the Reggie. And
yeah, I think that's fine. I had this one, and it doesn't really matter. It's one that legitimately doesn't matter. I just thought it was funny. Or I thought it kind of fit. The 76ers, they played with Charles Barkley and they lost to Michael the first couple years before he went to the Suns. I just had them as the Colts because like both of those pretty good teams, but they just ran into the wrong team, and then their player,
They want to be Houston.
their star guy ultimately left. That was the biggest reason I made them the Colts because Barkley left to go try and find opportunities elsewhere, and Luck went to go find opportunities at his house.
Yeah, gotcha. I guess if Houston lost a guy, then maybe they'd be. Houston.
Yeah. I was struggling to figure out where Houston is in this. I genuinely don't know, but all right. Two biggest ones we have to find holes for though, because we've gotten the big three in the AFC.
That could be the Atlanta Hawks.
And the reason why I was crossing over as well is because Jordan had 4 teams that he beat in the finals, like that he just had chokeholds over, versus so far we've only seen 2 teams face the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. But 49ers, did you have them somewhere?
The who?
The 49ers.
Oh. Probably the Jazz.
You think they're the Jazz?
Just
in this
because.
Situation?
Oh, that's tough.
Can I say why I think I agree with the Jazz pick is because after the Jazz lost those 2 finals, they kind of fell apart as a team, and they kind of just degraded very quickly. We might be seeing that with the Niners. Jury's still out, but there's a very good chance that like the Niners window is just closed, and we're not going to see it open in this era of their team again. So I would that's why I would say they could fit there.
Who they beat? So the 4 teams Jordan beat were
the Jazz, the Suns,
the Seattle,
Sonics, and the Blazers. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they would have to, and that would make, I guess, Phoenix the Eagles.
Yeah, like the reason I wanted to almost put Phoenix as the Jazz is because I feel like the Jazz were a more talented team.
Roster, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like better roster.
But it's like the 49ers had like McCaffrey and where it gets hard is that the Eagles and the 49ers are literally the same team.
Yeah, they're literally the same team. So the only difference is Saquon actually is like, well, I guess McCaffrey really. What was McCaffrey top 3 in the MVP voting that year?
McCaffrey's best running back in the league.
I agree. Barkley actually broke
record.
He's gonna break the AJ. Is it AJ Terrell?
Davis.
Terrell Davis. I always get those two.
Yeah.
But he's actually gonna break that record
for sure.
So like that's why I think I'd put the Eagles with the Suns though, because Barkley won MVP the year that they got to the finals. And you have like a force in Barkley, you have a force in Saquon. Barkley, both.
Yeah.
Both Barkley.
Oh wow, that's funny.
It works too well.
we'll do that.
Gotta do it. Gotta do it.
That's kind of annoying that Mahomes has only beat 2 teams.
It's super annoying. I hate it.
Because what Brady beat,
and they're the same 2 teams.
The same 2 teams.
So like, he just has to do the same thing he's been doing. Yeah, it's super annoying. Sonics wise, this is where it kind of just gets like, I put the Titans as the Trailblazers. They got to the 1 seed as Tannehill, and they just couldn't get it done. Drexler was on the Blazers. So it was kind of like one of his last couple years there. Yeah. So I put them as kind of the contemporaries for the Blazers, even though it wasn't played in the Super Bowl.
So say what, the Rams or Houston?
I'd say the Rams are the Houston Rockets, yeah, because they're the only team to win right now in the midst of the era.
Which is what Houston did.
Which is what Houston did.
Back to back. So,
and then, so Sonics, I would say, I guess they kind of fit the Texans.
Who?
I don't know.
You said who?
I don't know why they fit the Texans, but maybe they do.
Who?
Houston, the Sonics.
Oh, the Sonics.
That's really the only slot we have left.
Sure.
So.
And that was the Seattle team with Gary. Gary and the ball, Shawnee.
The glove. Had great defense.
With
Houston's
Shawnee.
got a great defense, but not a great
fair
offense.
enough.
Kind of works.
Shawnee Kemp.
That's a bit of a stretch for that.
Shawnee Kemp is Will Anderson
Yeah.
Jr.
Oh man. So
no, that's good. I think it works out.
I think it works.
Some are more 1-to-1. Some are more like 1-to-1.
Listen, it's basketball to football. It's a little
hard.
It's a little different. But I just figure, maybe one day we'll also, Lamar's the Peyton and Burrow is the Rivers. I don't know. We'll figure something out. But That's it.
And whoever beats Mahomes will be Eli Manning.
Yeah, honestly, we're waiting for our Eli Manning to
Yeah.
come into the picture.
Our Eli has
Who's
not
it
been-
going to be?
Will it be Jalen Hurts?
Will it be Jalen Hurts?
Which would make sense.
Tune in 2 weeks. Oh, man. Okay, cool. That's a wrap on this episode. Like I said, we're going to be back next week. We didn't get to some of the NFL news around the league this week, so we'll touch on that a little bit next week. Also, when we come and join you guys again next week, NBA trade deadline is happening. So we also kind of did a little bit of a basketball mix to maybe start the transition a little bit because we are going to be starting to transition into basketball season very soon. So we're looking forward to that. Keep following the channels. Stay tuned on YouTube. Stay tuned for some TikTok videos to be dropping this week. And yeah, thanks for hanging around the house for us. We will catch y'all next week. Peace.